Hi dear friends, this is Bob Hatton, this is the Encourager. It's good that you joined me today for these 24 days in Advent up until Christmas Eve and the Christmas celebration. First of all, I brought you something that I want to show you. Oh, it's heavy. This is a Bible. And this is an heirloom. This is the only heirloom that I have. This is from our family Bible. And it was presented to my great-grandfather when he got married. It's about 160, maybe 170 years old. It's very, very heavy. And, within this Bible, this very thick book, there are 66 different books. The Bible is a collection of 66 books, and these books are divided up into chapters, and there are 1,100 chapters in this book, and they are also divided up into verses, and we've got more than 30,000 verses. That's quite a lot. Maybe you ask yourself, where can I start? Well, let me just put this down for a moment and get my edition of the Bible. It's much lighter, it's much more easily to handle, but it's a book which contains 66 books altogether, 1,100 chapters and 30,000 verses. Even though the paper is much thinner in this big Bible, the paper is quite thick, the print is quite large, and I just imagine that my ancestors would have read this book maybe in an ill-lit dwelling place in winter when it's dark anyway, and they needed big print. The same thing is this is written in Old English, this is written in modern English, but the message is the same. Now I live in Germany, and I came to Germany with the military. I spent 6 years in the army, and in the army we had a group of soldiers, special forces, where they were called the Special Air Service, and they're still going today. And sometimes they would fly out behind enemy lines, and they would parachute into enemy territory, maybe in the middle of the night, very covert operations. Nobody should see them, nobody should know they were there. And they were taught to, first of all, when you get to the ground, wait a minute and just think and just find out where you are, because it depends on where you are to what are your next steps. And when you want to read the Bible, when you open the Bible and want to read it, then I want to give you some advice, and that is get to know where you are. Are you at the beginning of the Bible, maybe in Noah's Ark with all those animals, or are you a little bit farther with Moses going through the wilderness with the people of Israel? Are you going on one of David's raids, or fighting in one of his battles against the Philistines? Or maybe you've got right to the end of the book in the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelations, which tells us about what is going to happen at the end of time. Now it depends where you are, how you're going to understand it. Now, all of these stories in the Bible, they're individual stories that are standalones, but they're all connected to one another. And the thing that brings them all together is the story that we are going to look at in the next few days. We're going to have a look at the Christmas story. And where we're going to start is in Luke chapter 1 and verse 5. Luke is the third book in the New Testament. And in chapter 1 and verse 5, and we'll hear about a king called Herod. We'll also hear about an emperor called Augustus. We'll hear about an old man called Zachariah, and an old lady, his wife, called Elizabeth. We'll hear about a young girl called Mary, and a young guy called Joseph. And although this is not a fairy story, we'll be meeting some angels, we'll be hearing heavenly choirs, and also prophecy and praise and worship. So it's really a very interesting book, and I'm looking forward to studying it together with you and to hearing what it says. It's a book and it's a story that brings us hope, especially maybe in a time like this coronavirus crisis. We need hope. We need some good news, and that's what it is in this book. Before I go, I'd just like to recommend a small book. It's called The Bible in 100 Pages, and it's written by an English pastor called Phil Moore, who's a pastor of a church in London. This would make a good Christmas present for somebody. Not for me, because I've already got it. Thank you very much. But the subtitle is Seeing the Big Picture in God's Great Story, and the author tries to condense this great story that starts in the book of Genesis, where the beginning says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, right to the last few verses of the book of Revelation. It's one big story, a lot of little tiny stories, but all connected together, one big story. The Bible in 100 pages. I'd put it in the information for you. I think it's down below here, and I'll write it there so you can find this book if you want to buy it or give it to somebody. God bless you. Have a very good day. See you again. You're Bob Hatton, your encourager.